We continue to follow this breaking news all morning long here. Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, after being on the short list here for the last couple of weeks and then getting on the shorter of the short list the last few days, now the selection by Kamala Harris to be her running mate on the Democratic ticket. We are joined now by Brian McClung, the former chief of staff for former Governor Tim Pawlenty, a Republican, and prior to that, a Republican political operative here. Brian, your former boss gave you some grief here. He was talking about the internal campaigning for these vice presidential shortlisters. He's like, hey, maybe if Brian had done a better job, I'd have been the VP candidate. I'm glad to see you guys can still give each other a hard time.
You know, he's just upset because I beat him the last time we played golf. So I think that's what Governor Pawlenty's getting at now. But yeah, I think, you know, it's fair to say I'm probably Minnesota's premier expert when it comes to Tim's in the vice presidential running. Of course, with Tim Pawlenty, my old boss, he was vetted for the #2 slot in both 2008 with John McCain and in 2012 with Mitt Romney. Sometimes people forget that second go around, but Governor Pawlenty was on the very final short list that time as well. And then, of course, here today, we have another Tim Walz, getting the nod. So Minnesota, you know, is known for being in the running. We have actually had, you know, as you know, 2 previous Democrat vice presidents in Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale. So keep in mind, if Harris-Walz were to win this November, then Minnesota would have produced 3 out of the last 6 Democratic vice presidents. So that's a bit of history. But, you know, Minnesota is known as a state with good governance on both the left and the right. So no surprise that we have a lot of folks from our home state that are in this conversation.
As you've been following these Veep stakes, as we like to call them, you know, my sense was when he was initially put on the short list, the sense was by a lot of observers is that he was maybe on the longer version of the short list, and then as time went on, he moved up the rankings, and it seemed like, you know, a lot of attention paid to Mark Kelly in Arizona, being a border state and a former astronaut, and certainly Governor Shapiro, Governor Beshear being, you know, in a kind of a mid-South state. Why do you think at the end Harris picked Walz above them?
You know, I think there are probably a couple of key factors. First of all, in Governor Walz, you have a politician who, you know, has kind of a moderate background, who projects as somebody who is mainstream, as kind of your frumpled uncle and, you know, that Midwestern dad persona. So with his background as a high school teacher, as a football coach, as a former member of the National Guard, he's kind of a little bit more kind of that centrist feel, but his governing style and the record that he compiled as governor, particularly in these past 2 years where he's had that all Democratic trifecta at the state capitol, he has been able to go through a long checklist of progressive goals. And so he can talk about, you know, free lunch and breakfast for school kids, or protecting reproductive rights, or, you know, other kind of key progressive and left items. And that was different. You know, the other finalists were maybe more pure moderates, pure centrists. And I think Vice President Harris, that first thing you can do when you pick your VP is do no harm. And Walz is in that do no harm. He doesn't upset different parts of the Democratic base. They're going to need everybody rowing together. And I think that probably was the deciding point when they got down to it.
How do you think Governor Walz will be then in you know, we assume that there's going to be a vice presidential debate. Walz versus J.D. Vance. Both have kind of some similar stories of coming out of the heartland or rural areas. How do you think that matchup is going to play out?
Well, yes, you've got Ohio versus Minnesota. It's a Big Ten matchup in the #2 spot. I think it's going to be a really interesting debate, and I hope that it happens. I think the whole kind of debate structure is on shaky ground right now, and so it's unclear if we're going to get another presidential debate. You know, probably unclear if we'll end up with a vice presidential debate. But I think you have this kind of Midwestern styles in Governor Walz as older, more seasoned. You know, he's 60 years old. He's been around 12 years in Congress and then 6 years as governor, versus J.D. Vance, who has just served 2 years as a U.S. Senator, a relative newcomer, but somebody who is obviously very smart, knows what he wants to say, is able to deliver a message. So I think that would be a fun debate. And I think, you know, for Midwesterners, that would be kind of a fun time for us to be observers of politics.
One last question, and we got to make this quick because Keith Marler is standing by to tell us about how beautiful the weather is going to be all week. And this is, you know, you worked with Governor Tim Pawlenty. You longtime GOP, I guess, operative. The point here is that what Governor Pawlenty said, we call them the undecided voters. He referred to them as the persuadables. Is this a ticket? Because obviously that's the target, the folks who are maybe the moderate Republicans that they see that have a distaste for another Trump presidency. Is this a ticket that can actually get after that target?
Well, I think for starters, that doing that in Western Wisconsin, where Tim Walz is very well known, you know, Western Wisconsin, fastest growing part of their state. In your media market here. And so I think Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, having somebody who understands and can speak to the concerns, and particularly economic concerns of those swing voters, is really important. Ultimately, though, you know, the vice presidential pick doesn't tend to sway or decide the election. It is around the margins, but this election looks like it's going to be very close in those key 6 or 7 battleground states. So I think they are hopeful that, especially in that blue wall of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, they're really hoping that Governor Walz can be a very strong surrogate for them.
Brian McClung, former chief of staff to former Governor Tim Pawlenty, who we just had on a little bit ago. Brian, thank you. He's been waiting on Zoom for about an hour to get in here, and then he was, you know, his spot taken by his former boss. So thanks for joining us today.
It's tough.
All right.
It's tough. That Pawlenty, he never lets it go.
No, he doesn't. Thank you so much.